Hey there, and welcome. If you've ever tried to write a research paper, a thesis, or even just a big project proposal, you definitely know the feeling. It's that moment when you get to the background section. It's supposed to set the stage, right? But for a lot of us, it just brings on a massive case of writer's block. You know the scene. You're just sitting there, staring at that blinking cursor on a totally blank page, thinking, okay, where do I even start? How do you wrangle all those ideas into a foundation that not only makes sense, but actually grabs your reader and convinces them that what you're doing is important? It's a struggle we've all been through.
But what if I told you the solution was as simple as the number 3? Well, according to Dr. Philip Aju, whose work we're diving into today, there is a really powerful 3-part foundation that can turn that blank page into a seriously compelling argument. So, let's break down how it works.
So let's start by really digging into the challenge. See, your background section isn't just some formality you have to get through. It's your first and maybe your best chance to hook the reader and prove to them that your work actually matters. And this is where Dr. Adu's advice is so critical. Before you type a single word, you have to ask yourself, who am I really trying to convince here? Is it a professor, a funding committee, a client? Your goal isn't just to dump information on them. It's to convince them of the urgent need for your study. So, how do you convince them? Well, the answer lies in this simple but incredibly effective 3-part framework. The best way to think of it is like a blueprint for building your case from the ground up. And here they are. Number 1, general information. Number 2, context. And number 3, justification. Think of these as 3 essential building blocks. If you get these 3 things right, you've basically built a powerful case for your research before you even get to the specifics. Now here's the really important part. These aren't just 3 separate sections you check off a list. No, they're designed to work together, to build on one another, and to lead your reader to one single powerful conclusion. This study has to be done. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty and see how this structure is actually built, pillar by pillar. We're going to break down exactly what each part does and use a simple example to make it all really concrete. So first up is general information. This is the big, wide, concrete slab of your foundation. It's a broad overview that just gets your reader oriented. So for instance, if your topic is remote work, your general info would cover that massive global shift to working from home that's happened over the last few years. Now, to figure out what to put here, Dr. Adu suggests asking this one simple question. For our remote work topic, you'd ask, what's the conversation right now? You talk about things like productivity trends, new technologies, and that whole ongoing debate about going back to the office. Okay, next up, we add context. So if the general information is that big foundation slab, context is what builds the walls. It narrows the focus from this huge, broad topic down to your specific area of interest. For our remote work example, this means we're moving from a global trend to a much more specific environment. And context isn't just some vague idea. It means getting specific about the setting, let's say the US tech industry, the situations, like people dealing with long hours and Zoom fatigue, the conditions, maybe a super competitive job market, and the people affected, like software engineers and their managers who are under a ton of pressure. And that brings us to the final and most persuasive part, the justification. This is the roof. It's the capstone of your entire argument. For our remote work study, this is where you make it crystal clear why this issue isn't just interesting, but absolutely critical.
Dr. Adu's questions here just get right to the heart of it. Why should anyone care? Well, because recent reports are showing record levels of burnout in the tech sector, and that's threatening innovation and causing people to quit. That's the so what, and that's what makes it compelling.
Okay, so we know what to put in, but it's just as important to know what to leave out. Let's get really clear on what the background section isn't, because this is a super common mistake that can throw off a whole project. First and foremost, your background is not your problem statement. The background sets that broad stage we talked about. The problem statement, which comes later, is the specific gap or issue you found, something like a lack of research on burnout prevention for remote tech teams. And it's also not your purpose statement. The purpose statement is even more specific. It's your action plan. It tells the reader exactly what you are going to do. The background builds the case. The purpose states the mission. See the difference? So let's put it all together. We've seen how this totally logical framework can take an intimidating blank page and turn it into a powerful, persuasive argument. Here it is one last time. Start broad with general information. Just ask what's happening. Then you narrow your focus with context, asking where is this happening and to whom. And finally, you bring it home and persuade with justification by answering why does this matter. And the real power of this is that this framework goes way beyond academic papers. Think about it. A business proposal, a project pitch, a request for funding, they all need to establish what's happening, provide the context, and justify why action is needed. This is a universal blueprint for making a strong case for anything. So the main takeaway is this. You now have a simple, repeatable blueprint for building a powerful argument right from the ground up. The only question left is, where are you going to use it first?